The hierarchy of the 20th Century Corporation was created in the mid-1920s by Alfred P. Sloan of General Motors. That model, which survived over a century, is now being challenged. Think about it. The hierarchy is a structure of two classes of people, bosses and employees, the latter having to do whatever the former tells them to do. Add to that, crippling bureaucracy, lots and lots of meetings, and work life and personal life that are kept separate. No wonder the Great Resignation. No wonder quiet quitting.
Now, imagine an environment where what you have are teams who are empowered to self-manage how they use their combined skills to achieve a goal. You have no bosses, no bureaucracy, and just as importantly, family life and work life are one life. That is the culture of a teal organization. Now you must be asking, how does it work? If there is no hierarchy and no bureaucracy, how could it work? How do we put together human talent and drive it to the desired result without the hierarchy of the 20th century? At the heart of the Múcua model is the realization that a work environment is really a network of people who are communicating with each other to get things done. What we need to do is structure things so that this network is not encumbered by the hierarchy.
This diagram, drawn by software, represents a workplace. The nodes are employees, and the lines are conversations amongst them. You will notice many cases where there's a cluster of activity clumped around one node, or a set of nodes close together. If you zoom out a little bit, you're going to see larger clusters grouping small clusters where there isn't a great deal of activity between the larger clusters. If you use software to map the network of communications of most organizations, you will see this pattern: small clusters, larger clusters. If you look inside one of the small clusters, you will find multi-skilled individuals working together to perform a task. To these small clusters we call pods. A larger cluster essentially amounts to a group of pods that are achieving a larger goal. These cohesive larger groups are called huts. Hence, a pod is a small network performing a task. A hut is a network of pods, intertwined in the execution of a larger goal. But huts are also networked between them, although to a lesser degree than pods. Many huts network to accomplish a mission are called a village, what you might call an enterprise. Keep in mind, though, that these network structures are not silos. The lines of communication are determined by the necessity of accomplishing tasks, not by the policies of a hierarchy.
The next question you will ask is, what are pods? What is their content? Pods do not result from a functional decomposition, and they are not physical in outline. Let's look at an example. Our example is a plant in the process manufacturing industry. We typically see four basic promises to the market: new products, good relationships, good service, and of course, finished goods. If we look at the finished goods layer, there is work going on, in the form of streams of activities. In our example, there is a stream for the purchase, reception and release of raw materials, another with work to manufacture finished goods, and then work to analyze and qualify those finished goods as ready for consumption by end customers. Here's the really important point: not all these activities, however interesting, deliver something of value for the customer. There are some points along the thread of activities where something of value is indeed delivered. In this case, there are two such points: the release of raw materials into manufacturing, and the release of finished goods to the market. Now, if we take the stream of activities leading to one of those value delivery points, and the people needed to do the work, we find the scope of a pod. In this example, there would then be two pods, each of them with individuals, with the skill mix necessary to deliver the expected value, as recognized by the customer. But, the final release of finished goods actually requires both pods, doesn't it, one following the other? There must be cohesion in the network of those pods. Thus, we recognize a hut, enveloping the network of the two pods. If we were to apply the same method to the service layer, we would have concluded with a service hut, with 3 pods. One for procurement, another for supply, and a third one for customer service. Each of these pods, with the skill mix necessary, to deliver good service to customers. This is how you do pods and huts.
The Múcua model is made of self-managed pods. So, what about leadership? In Múcua, we recognize that people working on daily tasks don't see the tree from the forest. Thus, there's a need for people who keep an eye on the big picture. These, we call eagles, and they work together in a pod called the Eagle Pod. The leadership provided by eagles, though, is immersive, it's not detached, and it's participative, not hierarchical. Eagles mingle within the pods, listen to their conversations, and when they come together in the Eagle Pod, they have discussions about any issues that affect the village. These conversations are public, they are not private to those eagles, they are shared by everybody in the network.
This is the Múcua model. A very simple model, made of multifunctional pods, driving to specific results, of value to customers. Pods are arranged in huts, with hut leaders called eagles, overseeing and steering the direction and goals of the village.